Today's video, we're going to talk about how to get started in traditional archery. I know a lot of you guys out there are already shooting bows, probably compound bows and maybe even crossbows. But getting started in traditional archery is very, very simple. So that's what I want to talk about today. You know, I used to own an archery shop back in my college days, and so I knew quite a bit about how to get people started. So hopefully you'll get something out of this video today. Well, to start out, you need to get you a bow, and there are essentially only two types of bows. You either got a recurve bow or a longbow. And with the huge market of commercial bows today, you have so many to choose from. So I want to start out showing you a couple bows that you might consider, even though there are a bunch more. But the key with getting a bow is you don't want to start too heavy. I recommend starting with 40 pounds or less, preferably about a 35-pound bow. Now remember, bows, traditional bows are usually measured out at 28 inches. So however far you pull the bow back 28 inches, that's actually the bow weight. My cat's here. Go on, kitty. Get out of here, cat. She's gonna knock this camera over. But as far when you pull the bow back, when you pull it back 28 inches, that's usually the pound that you are holding at 28 inches. So that's how most bows are measured. So I recommend, starting out less than 40 pounds, even though I think 35 pounds will be better. Just because you shoot a compound bow at 60 or 70 pounds now, don't mean when you go to a traditional bow, you can shoot 60 or 70 pounds. You can, but that's gonna be quite difficult. So I recommend starting out 40 pounds or less. And after you get used to the bow, you can bump on up to 45, 50, 60, 70 pounds. But anyway, so the next thing, let me show you these bows and then we'll go from there. Now this bow right here, as you can see, is a black hunter. Now black hunter bows, actually made in China, have become very popular. But the key with these bows, you can get them for under $100. And so Amazon, eBay, I think even Big Jim's bows, a lot of these companies have this black hunter. So that would be a good recurve bow to start out with. It's actually, they shoot very well. They're plenty good for hunting, and but you might consider a black hunter recurve bow. The next bow that you may consider, you might consider one of these long bows. Now this bow here I think came off of Amazon, and it was under 200. I want to say 129ish. But again, there are so many production bows that are actually pretty adequate to start. And of course, after you get into this traditional archery, you may get you a custom bow. There are a lot of great custom companies out there that make some great bows. So this is just to get you started. So don't feel like you buy this bow and that's all you're going to get to hunt with. You're going to end up maybe with a northern mist or something one day. But let's talk about quivers. All right, there are a lot of great quivers out there. And some that you may consider to be gun-shy quiver. I believe they're made up there in Minnesota. Fantastic quivers. You have Creek Walker quivers. They're made out of Georgia, and I'm telling you, that's a fine quiver, especially for those long bows. Then you have Selway quivers. You guys probably seen some of them. They've been around a while. And Great Northern quivers, just so many. So look around and pick one, and then after you buy that one, go buy another one. Try all four, and you'll always be glad you have them. So, but anyway, let's move on. Also, what you're going to need now are some arrows. The key with getting an arrow, now you got carbon, you have aluminum, you have wood. All three will work, but the key with getting an arrow is getting that spine set up with your bow. You want that arrow to be tuned to your bow. You could be shooting this bow perfect, but if your spine is off, your arrows aren't going to hit where you think you're supposed to aim and where you are supposed to hit. So the key is getting the proper spine, and there are so many videos out there that will help you with that. Like if you're shooting about a 45-pound recurve bow, you're going to probably have about a 500 spine. If you're shooting a 40-pound, you're probably going to have a 600 spine. If you're shooting 35, you're probably a 600 to 700 spine. And then you'll have different weights on the front. And you want an FOC because you want to shoot the heaviest arrow that you can, and because of penetration, and because your shots are going to be 15 yards or less. Go on, kitty. And she's going to knock this camera over, guys. But your shots are going to be under 15 yards or less most of the time. So you want a heavier arrow so you get that good penetration, and you want that FOC to be anywhere from 12 to 15%, so front of center. So, and use the heaviest broadheads and stuff you can get away with. And you'll see as you get into this, you'll see why. But the key is getting the proper spine. So a lot of great videos out there, a lot of great channels, you know, Samco Tradbow, Robert Carter, they have some good instructional videos on getting started. So you guys check them out on YouTube. So the next thing that I want to talk about are some of the equipment that you'll need along with your bow and arrows. So let me show you those. All right, you're going to have to decide on if you want to hunt with a finger tab, a glove, or you want to hunt 3 fingers under or split finger. All of these things will work, and you'll just have to try them out. I usually like this, but I've killed just as many deer using a tab, and so a lot of good companies make them. That's an omnivore tab, and I believe this just something came from I don't know, I found it on eBay. So, but I like those Damascus gloves. You'll need an arm guard. You may not be using one now, but you'll see in traditional archery, you usually need an arm guard, and there's a bunch of those you can get, and mainly to hold the clothes out of the way from your string. And of course, definitely get a bowstringer. You don't want to use, put that, your leg between the bow and string and try to string it up. You're going to twist your limb. So get you a bowstringer. Good investment. So let's move on. Now again, I said something about you can, shoot 3 fingers under or split finger. I think it's about equal. I think just as many people shoot split finger as they do 3 fingers under. So try both styles and pick the one that fits you. I kind of go towards the 3 fingers under. It kind of helps me. And also, there's different ways to aim, so to speak. You have your gap shooter who puts your point on something, and then you can adjust your windage by the gap. And I think gap shooting is probably a little bit more accurate, consistent. But then you have your instinctive shooters where they come back to full draw and they get that instinctive feel and then release. I think most people are probably instinctive shooters, and that may be better for hunting because you're seeing the game and you got to get that arrow back and get the arrow to them at different distances. So instinctive shooting may be more effective for you. Then you have, your string walkers, where you can adjust the back of the arrow for different, somewhat putting your point on the target, and then using the different string gap in the back to make your aim. And some of those best shooters do that. And then, of course, you have bow sights. Now, I don't see many people using a bow sight in traditional archery, but in the past, I put a bow sight on one of my recurve bows because I had this deer coming out past 30 yards, and I was thinking, man, I can't shoot him, without a sight that far, and he kept coming out, that far every day. So I put a bow sight on my bow and went out there, and the dude came out at 29 yards, and I got him. So you have to check that video out. It's one of my first videos, so don't be laughing, but check that out. So even a bow sight, but anyway, I don't know if that's really considered traditional archery, but I was using a recurve bow at the time. But anyway, let's see if anything else. Here's the key. Start out under 10 yards or less. You know, very seldom, very seldom you will shoot out past 10 or 15 yards in traditional archery. The key is getting close. Now, I killed one deer. Now this was without sights. I killed one deer with a recurve bow. He's 31 yards, but I'd missed the deer 2 times under my stand, and he got out there 31 yards broadside, sitting there eating, and I guess it was a desperation shot, and ended up the arrow was perfect. But most of the time, don't do that. You know, your shots need to be 15 and less, so practice 15 yards and less. Most shots you're going to see are going to be 8, 7, 8, 9 yards. So you don't have to practice 20 yards, 25. You know, it's fun to get back there, and it's okay, but spend most of your time 15 yards or less, and get good at that, build that confidence, and you'll be successful in traditional archery. So anyway, I hope this video helps, and it'll get you started, and you might have to go back and re-watch a couple segments of this so that you know something you may not remember, but hopefully this will get you started. And if you have any questions, put it in the comments. And I thank you guys for watching. Love you guys, and God bless you, and I'll see you again on another video real soon. All right.